Welcome back to the program. First and foremost, thank you all for the really nice messages and heartfelt, wishes on what I'm going through right now, and with the personal issues and things like that. I'm not going to address those publicly right now, but I will do that in the next Full Throttle Thursday when we're off the air. We'll talk about it if y'all want to. But again, thank you very much. That interview was an interesting interview. I love Mike. He's great. He's a patriot. When you're doing an interview like that, if this guy was on the left, like a hardcore leftist, trust me, the fangs would have come out and I would have been, the normal Josh that you would normally see. But in a situation where he's basically, agreeing with us for the most part, he's on the right. I've been on his show a lot of different times. He's a good guy. We just agreed to disagree, and so I just killed him with kindness, with a little smile, and I combated him when I felt it was necessary, and quite frankly, I think I kicked his ass, if you want to know the truth. I wasn't yelling and screaming. I kept my demeanor. I kept my poise, and I just hit him with the facts, and we all know what the facts are. So he's already invited me back on next week, so maybe perhaps we'll have a different topic, so it won't be as contentious, but it was still a lot of fun. Now, what I want to do today is I'm going to give you some information that you almost certainly will not hear anywhere else, okay? First and foremost, you need to put this in your crawl, in your memory bank, whatever. October 7th changed everything. When they attacked those innocent people and they butchered them, including murdering little tiny babies in their cribs, and the depravity of that attack, the worst attack since the Holocaust on Jews, that was it. Never again became October 7th. And so from that point, they completely changed their tactics 100%. Now, I want you all to go back in your memory bank, and I want you to think about something that I said. I don't have the video right now, but you know that when I say I said something, it happened. Do you remember that I said at that time, when we were discussing the attack, I said, after a few days of doing research, I said, the reason that attack was able to be so successful was because Israel dropped the ball on human intelligence. Do you remember me telling you that? I'm sure you do. And I said they did not have anybody embedded when they were supposed to, and or somebody in Israel was working with the, Hamas and Hezbollah and the rest of them. And I said that at the time, and I said Israel needs to go back to the old way of doing things. Human intelligence. I'm not saying they heard my message. They didn't need to hear a message from me. They literally saw the results of a lack of human intelligence on the ground where it counts. However, they have learned their lesson, and those innocent Israelis will not have died in vain, because Israel is now on the attack. They're not going to relent, and it's over. It is over for the Iranian regime. It is over for the Ayatollah in short order. Now, let me tell you a couple of things. After October 7th happened and the horror and evilness of that attack, they obviously cleaned up everything. They took care of the people, the injured, the dead. They did what they had to do. But then after that, they had a meeting, in Haifa, without the rest of the Likud and the parliament and everything else. No military, no nothing. Nobody knew about it other than Netanyahu, one or two of his very close advisors, the IDF, and Mossad. And they all got together and they said, enough is enough. This regime needs to go. And that happened 1 month after October 7th. Part of the plan of what they did was to infiltrate, obviously they destroyed Hezbollah, they destroyed Hamas, all that. But after they destroyed those two proxies that were right at their door, both countries right there at their door, especially Hamas, so close, Gaza being within miles of Tel Aviv and all that, and Haifa, and you know, the epicenter of Jerusalem and all that good stuff. And so what did they do? They realized that the Yemens, right, the Houthis, were now going to be the next target that was going to try to attack Israel. And so what did they do? They did attack Israel. And of course, the United States went and attacked them. But here's what happened. As part of this operation, they pretended, that's right, they pretended to be Houthi rebels. Not a lot, but enough of them. And obviously they know their language, they know them, they dress like them. They even, I wouldn't say participated in any attacks, but let's just say gave fake support in order to curry favor with the IRGC and the Iranians. And then they were able to come in some respects, not all of them, but some of them, and pretend to be part of that group. Now, here is the rest of the story. What I was referring to was known as Operation Narnia. Okay? How Israel used a secret weapon to kill 10 Iranian nuclear scientists during its opening attack against Iran. Do I need glasses? I think the print's all right. Israel took out the entire senior command of Iran's Islamic Republican Guard, or Republic's Guard, IRGC, last Friday during the opening strike of its Operation Rising Lion campaign. Iran lost many advisors to its supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, but what hurt them the most was how the country lost key individuals involved in Iran's nuclear program in a huge setback to its nuclear ambitions. Now Israel has released the details of Operation Narnia, a mission targeting Iran's nuclear scientists. As part of the mission, okay, this is the important part. As part of this mission, they were to go after and kill these scientists, these nuclear physicists, these people that had the knowledge in their minds, in their brains, and the skill set to create this nuclear program for the Iranian regime. So here it is. Now Israel has released the details, a mission targeting Iran's nuclear scientists. As part of this mission, Israel killed 10 nuclear scientists. 9 of the 10 were simultaneously eliminated in their sleep in one attack. The nuclear scientists were killed using a special weapon whose details are barred from publication. Thank God no one is stupid enough to say, here's how we did it, right? Unbelievable. So it goes on to say this. The nuclear scientists, Israel's intelligence directorate, came up with this precise plan to kill the top 10 nuclear scientists, many of whom were students and successors of Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, who is often regarded as the grandfather of the Iran nuclear program, the mastermind behind Project Ahmad, Iran's covert effort to build nuclear bombs in the early 2000s. Fakhrizadeh was assassinated in 2020 by a robotic sniper controlled by Israel. Israel reportedly created a hit list of the scientists last November. Israeli intelligence officials categorized Iran's nuclear scientists into 4 distinct levels, ranking them from the highest to the lowest priority. The scientists with the most military experience and the greatest difficulty in replacing them were ranked as the highest, according to these reports. The plan was devised to target them simultaneously so that there would be no time for any of them to tip off the others being targeted. All 10 were at their homes, sleeping in their beds when Israeli Mossad assassinated them Senior Israeli officials tell Channel 12. Israel decided to target them at their homes because many believed that they were safe at their homes because all previously assassinated nuclear scientists were killed outside of their homes or while heading to their cars at work. The deceased scientists include, and there's a whole bunch of weird names, so I'm just going to do my best. I'll maybe use last names. Abbasi, a nuclear engineering expert. Taranchi, a physics expert. Zeta, a chemical engineering expert. Baraji, a materials engineering expert. Fakwi, a physics expert. And then Minushar, a reactor physics expert. Asghari, a physics expert. And Davul Parki Daryani, a nuclear engineering expert. And Katharimi, a mechanical expert. So that's what they did. They are embedded. They are fully embedded in Iran. And they simultaneously wiped out the most senior military and nuclear scientists so that they cannot share that information and their knowledge and their information and their smarts and intelligence with a new, younger generation. That has now been wiped out. Okay? So I wanted to kind of point to that. Now, listen to this. The secret message that exposes how deep Mossad is in Iran. Listen, this one's crazy. Unbelievably crazy. Over the past few years, we've witnessed a string of mysterious incidents across Iran. Unexplained explosions, disappearing scientists, rockets blowing up on their launch pads, and even nuclear facilities catching on fire in the dead of night. But all of that pales in comparison to a single official announcement issued recently by the Iranian regime, an announcement that reads more like a disguised surrender than a stern ultimatum. Quote, the Supreme National Security Council of Iran announces anyone recruited by the Israeli Mossad must immediately report by June 22nd to one of the Basij bases or the police stations or the Ministry of Intelligence headquarters. They are to hand over their information, their intel, their drones, their UAVs, and all of their equipment. And in doing so, wink wink, you may receive an Islamic pardon and return to the embraces of the nation. Right? This is not satire. This is a real formal message from the Islamic Republic. But why issue such a desperate statement? Surely any rational person knows that if you are a Mossad agent who risks their life each and every day and you turn yourself in, you're not going to get a pardon. You're going to be tortured within an inch of your life for probably a week or two and then have a bullet put in your head. Okay? That's the reality. Because it's not a message for Mossad agents, it's a message to the Iranian people. It is an admission of a nightmare. And that nightmare is, for the Iranians, that the Mossad is in deep in the country of Iran, embedded, breathing down the regime's neck and dismantling it from within. Since Israel's Operation Kalavi in June of 2025, the most dramatic Israeli strike against Iran in history, the regime in Tehran has shown growing signs of panic. And not just because of missiles hitting nuclear facilities. No, the real blow came from within, from elsewhere. The revelation that Israel has pre-positioned strike systems inside Tehran in Iranian territory, drones, short-range rockets, smart explosives, and of course, assassins activated and on the ground. Simultaneous national TV broadcasts were being hijacked. Calls for rebellion were being aired. Military bases suffered technical failures. fuel facilities. Banks have been shut down, cutting off the financial supply for the IRGC and the rest of Khomeini's troops, including himself. Power plants collapsed, one right after another. Each time the regime issued a convoluted, contradictory story, sometimes outright ridiculous explanations, yet another thing happened. And alongside all of this, a wave of targeted assassinations. The IRGC commander, the chief of staff, the entire Air Force leadership, and one of Khomeini's top advisors, all wiped out in a single operation. Add to that those 9 nuclear scientists eliminated with precision, not by chance, not by error, as part of a meticulously engineered and planned campaign by a nation determined to stop Iran's nuclear weapons program at any cost. And now, the regime's climax of absurdity, a public call for agents to turn themselves in. On the surface, it shows strength, but in reality, it is nothing more than a cry from a regime that has lost control, facing an invisible enemy embedded deep within its borders to destroy it from the inside. A year-long operation brought to light. To grasp the extent of the panic, we must grasp the scale of the operation. Calavi was not a one-off air raid. It was a multi-year intelligence operation. Israel didn't just know where every missile was buried. It had already planted explosive devices, smuggled drones in, deployed local assassins, and knew precisely when, where, and how to neutralize Iran's air defenses moments before Israel struck. Roughly 200 Israeli fighter jets entered Iranian skies under the cover of darkness. But they weren't alone. On the ground, Israeli trained assassin teams, some local, some external, simultaneously took out air defense systems from within. Not from the air, not from anywhere else, but from behind enemy lines. Footage released after the operation showed Mossad agents in Iranian territory launching small munitions and different weapon systems. As Israeli jets swept the skies, the Islamic Republic's aerial shield simply ceased to exist. At the same time, a cyber attack on a central Iranian bank, ATMs frozen, digital chaos, pro-Israeli hackers hijacked national news broadcasts, airing footage of protests, monologues, and a flickering emblem, the AM Calavi lion. Earlier this week, Iranian regime sources claimed Mossad agents had used spike missiles launched via remote internet systems to strike air defense targets. If this is true, this indicates an unprecedented level of technical infiltration whereby every weapon system inside Iran are being hijacked remotely. And days before that report surfaced, there it is, of an attack in Mossad, 800 kilometers east of Tehran. According to local accounts, it wasn't an airstrike. It was Mossad agents on the ground. If verified, that would mark the easternmost point ever hit during this campaign. Tehran is going to collapse from within. And then came the most dangerous phase, fear of its own citizens. Every electrician in a nuclear facility became a suspect. Every telecom technician a potential traitor. The regime's core paranoia took over, not from above, but from within. The Mossad agents didn't just hit these targets, it shook the psychological ground beneath the tyranny. It makes regimes fear themselves. That's exactly what has unfolded. Internet blackouts, emergency laws, hangings, disappearance, vanished names. The public didn't get an explanation because the regime has none to give. In cities like Tehran and Isfahan, citizens reported roadblocks, heavy besieged presence, and security patrols choking off entire neighborhoods. People want to rise up, but they're afraid. The regime, rather than focusing on the war with Israel, has now turned its force inward, waging war against its own citizens out of sheer panic. In Iranian opposition telegram channels, powerful words are being echoed. Quote, "We are not brothers of the besieged, or the IRGC, or the mullahs, not because of what they wear, but because of what they have done and how they have treated us. Because of the tears of our mothers and fathers and brothers and daughters waiting for their children in the middle of the night. Because of the blood that has been spilled by the youth who only want to breathe freely. Because every time liberty raised its voice, it was silenced by guns, by batons, by torture, by lies, and by brutality. Because they handed out bullets instead of bread. One man in Isfahan briefly connected online and messaged the Monodo news agency, quote, we must trust Israel fully, and we are not afraid. It's only the sound of explosions that keep us from sleeping. Meanwhile, the regime reported arresting 5 alleged Mossad agents in Loristan province for nothing more than hostile activities in cyberspace. That's how deep the paranoia has run. The threat is no longer physical, it's mental and perceptual. The original announcement, which many Israeli outfits mistakenly translated as a July 1 deadline, actually refers to June 22nd, the first of the month of Tir in the Iranian calendar, this coming Sunday. The regime gave Mossad agents a few days of ultimatum in a desperate attempt to reclaim control, but it will not work. The story of Operation Kalavi and the shadow warriors inside and embedded in Iran isn't just about espionage. It's a demonstration of what is possible, of how any regime, no matter how brutal or entrenched, can be penetrated, paralyzed, paranoid, dismantled, and not with thunder, but with silence. A regime the world once feared now fears its own reflection. It didn't happen overnight. It took patience. It took daring. It took brilliance. It took intelligence that has no equal on earth. The Mossad and the agents of Mossad have turned Iran into a maze, and itself into a phantom embedded in every corner. And if the regime felt compelled impublicly to call on Mossad agents to surrender, there's no longer a warning. That's an admission of defeat. They know they've lost control, and for the first time, the entire world is beginning to understand just how deep the Mossad and Israel's infiltration into Iran truly is. What seems like an intelligent victory might, in fact, be a prelude. If Israel can reach the heart of the Islamic Republic and cripple its nuclear program and decapitate its military and nuclear leadership and ignite internal consciousness, what else might they be able to do? This story is not over. It is only beginning. And by the time we know the full extent of what happened, there may be no one longer in the regime left inside to tell it. That is pretty impressive stuff. And when you threaten your neighbor for 46 years straight, when you attack Israeli citizens while they're going to synagogue, or they're going to the market, or they're on a bus somewhere, or they're doing whatever they're doing, and you just blow them up with suicide bombers, and you attack their people, and you attack their buildings and their hospitals and concerts and their children, eventually, guess what? You're going to get hit back. And you're going to get hit back in a way that you didn't see coming, number one. And number two, that you'll never forget, because most of you are going to be dead from it. That's the reality. Now, I'm going to end with this. The other day I told you there was some intelligence out there that I could not disclose. Well, sadly, that intelligence has gone public. So me telling you isn't going to make a difference, okay? If the United States does not join in this fight with Israel on the offensive side, the IDF, the Mossad, Israel, the military, government, whatever, they're not going to stop. They will destroy the Fordo military enrichment facility no matter what, whether we're involved or not. And because it's public knowledge, and I wasn't going to say this because I didn't want this to come out, but it's already public knowledge, they're going to paratroop in through helicopters, through planes, whatever it may be, about 1,500 of the most highly skilled Mossad assassins possible. Just like you would see in the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie Commando, or in one of these PlayStation video games where you drop in from the sky and you shoot out all the enemies, and then you get into your location, and then you get in there, you shoot everybody in there, you kill everybody in there, and then what do? You plant explosives all around the entire thing, inside it, and then you set a timer for 3-4 hours, whatever it may be. You get the hell out of Dodge, and you wait, and boom, it's gone. That's what I knew a few days ago that I couldn't tell. But again, people in Israel have already let that out. Jesse Waters let it out last night on his show. So hey, I was trying to do my best to keep it under wraps because I didn't want it to come out. But hey, it wasn't up to me. It was up to everybody else. So we're going to see what happens this weekend. This weekend could be very, very consequential. And I don't know. Pray for Israel, obviously. Pray for President Trump. Pray for America. And pray for the Israeli people. And, of course, pray for the Iranian people that have been oppressed for 46 years. Change is coming, folks. Soon. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Put them down in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one.